Gentlemen, let me shock you with the truth. Some of the very fruits sitting in your kitchen right now are quietly destroying your testosterone. Yes, the same fruits you've always believed were healthy may actually be robbing you of your strength, your energy, and even your erections. For a man over 50, this is not a small matter. Low testosterone doesn't just steal your vitality, it steals your identity as a man. I'm Dr. James, a urologist and men's health specialist. For over 30 years, I've treated men just like you, fathers, husbands, grandfathers, who thought they were simply getting old when in reality their diet was sabotaging their hormones. My mission has always been to help men regain their confidence, their performance, and their health by uncovering the hidden truths no one else talks about. And here is the paradox. While certain fruits can crush your testosterone and weaken your manhood, other fruits have the power to do the exact opposite. Some can naturally lift your testosterone, strengthen your heart, improve your energy, and restore your erections. The same aisle in the grocery store can either be your worst enemy or your greatest ally. That's why today I'm going to reveal the 4 common fruits that destroy testosterone in men over 50 and the 4 powerful fruits that boost it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which ones to avoid and which ones to embrace if you want to protect your vitality. And stay with me until the end, because the last fruit I'll reveal is the most powerful of them all, the one that has helped my patients reclaim the passion and strength they thought they had lost forever. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss important health advice designed especially for men over 50. And I'd love to hear from you. If you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If you don't, type 0 and tell me how I can make this content even better for you. Now, let's dive into the very first fruit that may be silently destroying your testosterone. It looks innocent, even refreshing, and many men over 50 eat it almost every day without a second thought. Yet inside, it carries compounds that slowly weaken your manhood and vitality. 1. Seedless grapes. When I think back to many of the men I've treated over the years, I can still picture one gentleman in particular. He was in his early 60s, a proud grandfather, the kind of man who still wanted to feel strong and confident, but lately he had felt like his energy was slipping away. He came into my office confused, frustrated, and a little embarrassed. "Doc," he said, "I'm eating healthy, I'm doing everything right, but I just don't feel like myself anymore. My drive is gone, my strength is gone, and I don't know why." When I asked him to walk me through his daily meals, one detail stood out immediately. Every afternoon, he reached for a bowl of seedless grapes. He had convinced himself they were the perfect snack, light, sweet, refreshing, and easy to eat. What he didn't realize was that those little grapes were quietly sabotaging his testosterone levels day after day. Here's the truth. Seedless grapes are convenient, but they carry a hidden danger for men over 50. Most of them are heavily sprayed with pesticides, and many contain natural chemicals called phytoestrogens. These are plant compounds that mimic the hormone estrogen inside your body. Now, I want you to imagine this. Your testosterone is already declining with age, and then you add in an outside source that behaves like estrogen. It's like pouring water on a dwindling flame. Over time, that flame, the flame of your masculinity, starts to flicker weaker and weaker. The science is clear. Phytoestrogens compete with your body's natural testosterone, dulling its effect, weakening your drive, and even interfering with sperm quality. And pesticides, especially on thin-skinned fruits like grapes, add another layer of chemical stress on your hormones. For a man in his 60s, this is a double strike. Instead of helping you, that bowl of grapes can contribute to fatigue, belly fat, low energy, and yes, weaker erections. I've seen this pattern countless times, men trying to do the right thing, reaching for fruit instead of candy, but unknowingly making themselves more tired, more sluggish, and less confident. And the saddest part is, they don't connect the dots. They think it's just old age or bad luck when in reality it's something as simple as the food they choose. But here's where the story turns hopeful. Once that gentleman in my office cut back on seedless grapes and swapped in testosterone-friendly fruits, he noticed changes within weeks. His energy returned, his mood improved, and his wife told me later with a smile that his spark had returned as well. This is why I tell men everywhere, be careful with what seems harmless. Grapes may look innocent, but if you're over 50 and struggling with low energy or weak erections, they could be part of the problem. It's not about fear, it's about awareness. You deserve to know the truth so you can make smarter choices that protect your masculinity and your health. And if seedless grapes surprised you, wait until you hear about the next fruit. It's one that many men rely on every single day, especially those who want a healthy alternative to candy or dessert. But in reality, it's one of the biggest hidden enemies of your testosterone. 2. Dried fruits, raisins, dates, prunes. I remember another man who came into my office a few years ago. He was a retired teacher, 65 years old, kind and sharp-minded, but he carried the heavy weight of frustration in his voice. He told me, "Doctor, I've worked hard all my life, I've avoided junk food, and I thought I was doing everything right. But lately I feel drained, my energy is gone, my stomach is growing, and I don't feel like a man anymore." When I asked him about his diet, he proudly explained that he had given up candy years ago. Instead, every evening he treated himself to a bowl of raisins, sometimes a few dates or prunes. He thought he had outsmarted the temptation of sweets. What he didn't realize was that his healthy choice was quietly undermining the very hormone that defined his vitality. Dried fruits are deceiving. They look wholesome, they come straight from nature, and people often describe them as nutritious. But for a man over 50, they can be a silent enemy of testosterone. Why? Because when fruit is dried, the water disappears, but the sugar remains, concentrated into a tiny sticky bite. A handful of raisins might look harmless, but in reality, it's like swallowing spoonfuls of sugar. And sugar, gentlemen, is one of the most relentless killers of testosterone. Here's what happens inside your body. The sudden rush of sugar from dried fruit spikes your blood sugar, which then forces your insulin levels to surge. Insulin is the hormone that helps your body handle sugar, but high levels of insulin work against your testosterone. Over time, these spikes lower your natural testosterone production and make it harder for your body to use the testosterone you still have. The result? More belly fat, more fatigue, and weaker erections. It's a vicious cycle that feeds on itself. Sugar creates fat, fat produces more estrogen, and estrogen suppresses testosterone even further. This teacher told me he often woke up at night sweating, restless, and with no energy in the morning. He blamed age, but in reality, his nightly ritual of dried fruit was setting him up for hormonal imbalance. After cutting back on dried fruits and replacing them with fresh, low-sugar options, within weeks he began to notice change. His sleep improved, his energy returned, and his belly began to shrink. His wife later told me with a proud smile, "Doctor, he's more himself again." That is the power of understanding what's really happening in your body. You might think you're making a small, healthy choice, but for men over 50, dried fruits are not harmless snacks. They're concentrated sugar bombs that weaken your testosterone and rob you of the vitality you deserve. So the next time you reach for raisins or prunes thinking you're making the better choice, remember this story. You're not just eating dried fruit, you're lowering your testosterone piece by piece, day after day. And if you thought dried fruit was surprising, wait until you hear about the next fruit. It hides inside shiny cans, swimming in syrup, and its effect on your testosterone is even more damaging than you might imagine. 3. Canned fruits in syrup. There's a memory I often share with my patients because it reflects how deeply habits from the past can affect us today. I grew up in a generation where canned fruit was considered a treat. After dinner, families would open a tin of peaches or pears, scoop them into a bowl, and proudly say they were giving their children fruit instead of candy. Many men my age still carry that belief into their 60s and 70s, thinking that canned fruit is a wholesome, light, and harmless choice. But what many don't realize is that those shiny cans hold more than just fruit. They hold chemicals and sugars that can quietly dismantle testosterone, the very hormone that keeps a man's strength and vitality alive. One of my patients, a 70-year-old veteran, told me he loved eating canned pineapple almost every night. "Doc," he said, It makes me feel young again, reminds me of my childhood. But when he came to me, he was struggling with fatigue, weight gain, and most painfully, he admitted that his erections had become weak and unreliable. He had chalked it all up to aging, but when we dug into his daily habits, I knew right away that his beloved cans of fruit were playing a bigger role than he ever imagined. Here's the science. First, the syrup that surrounds those canned peaches, pears, and pineapples is essentially liquid sugar. When you eat it, your blood sugar skyrockets. High blood sugar leads to high insulin and, over time, insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is like a lock on the door to your testosterone. It keeps your body from producing and using testosterone effectively, leaving you with less energy, more belly fat, and lower performance in the bedroom. But the syrup is only half the problem. The can itself often contains a lining made with BPA, a chemical that has been shown in multiple studies to disrupt hormones. BPA mimics estrogen inside your body. So now imagine, your testosterone is already declining naturally with age, and on top of that, you're flooding your system with sugar and estrogen-like chemicals every single night. It's no wonder so many men in their 60s feel drained, foggy, and less like themselves. I still remember the look on that veteran's face when I explained it. He wasn't angry, he was shocked. All those years of believing he was making a healthy choice, and yet the truth was the opposite. But here's the hopeful part. Once he cut out the canned fruit and replaced it with fresh options like berries and pomegranates, the change was remarkable. Within a few months, he lost weight, his energy returned, and his confidence in the bedroom improved. His wife told me quietly during a follow-up visit, "Thank you, doctor. I feel like I have my husband back." That's why I tell men everywhere, don't let nostalgia or convenience blind you to the hidden dangers of what you're eating. Canned fruit may remind you of the past, but if you're over 50, it's quietly stealing your future. And if canned fruit shocked you, just wait until you hear about the next fruit. It doesn't come from a can at all. It comes from the very foods advertised as healthy protein alternatives. Yet inside, it carries compounds that can weaken testosterone even faster than sugar or syrup. 4. Soy-based fruit snacks. Edamame, soy blends. There's a certain sadness I feel when I meet men who are trying so hard to make the right choices yet unknowingly sabotage themselves because of clever marketing. One man, 62 years old, came to me proudly telling me how he had given up chips and candy bars and switched to what he thought were healthy snacks. In his desk drawer at work, he kept little packs of dried fruit mixed with soy nuts, sometimes edamame, sometimes soy-based protein snacks. He believed he was fueling his body with better options. But the truth was quite the opposite. His energy was dropping, his waistline was expanding, and worst of all, he admitted in a low voice that his intimacy with his wife had nearly disappeared. He asked me, "Doc, I'm doing everything they tell us to do. Why am I still getting weaker?" The answer was hidden in those so-called healthy snacks. Soy contains compounds called phytoestrogens. As the name suggests, these are plant-based chemicals that mimic estrogen in the human body. For women, they may sometimes be helpful, but for men over 50, especially those already fighting against the natural decline of testosterone, phytoestrogens are like throwing fuel on the wrong fire. Instead of supporting testosterone, they compete with it, disrupt the delicate hormonal balance, and tilt your system toward estrogen. The result? Lower testosterone, decreased muscle mass, more belly fat, and yes, weaker erections. What makes it worse is the false sense of security. Because these snacks are marketed as high protein or heart healthy, men trust them. They believe they are protecting themselves when in reality they are slowly being drained of the very hormone that defines their manhood. I have seen this pattern repeatedly in my practice. Good men with good intentions unknowingly undermining their health with a handful of soy-based mixes each day. I remember the face of that 62-year-old when I explained it to him. At first he looked disbelieving, then almost betrayed. "You mean the very snack I've been eating to stay healthy is the reason I feel this way?" he asked. And the truth was, yes, but the good news was simple. By cutting out those soy-based blends and replacing them with testosterone-friendly foods, nuts like almonds or walnuts paired with real fruit like berries or pomegranate, His vitality began to return. Within weeks, he had more energy, and within months, his confidence as a husband was restored. His wife later told me, "He's not just back physically, doctor. He's back emotionally, too." That is the power of awareness. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be informed. Soy-based fruit snacks may look harmless, but if you are over 50, they are slowly stealing your testosterone and weakening the very essence of your masculinity. Every choice matters, and sometimes the smallest choices carry the heaviest consequences. And if learning about soy snacks surprised you, wait until you hear the fruits on the other side of the story. Because just as some fruits destroy testosterone, there are others that do the exact opposite. Fruits that can lift your energy, sharpen your mind, and reignite your passion in ways you may have thought were gone forever. 5. Pomegranates. There is something almost regal about the pomegranate. Its deep red color, the way you crack it open to reveal jewel-like seeds, it feels like a fruit meant for kings. And in many ways, it truly is. I remember one of my longtime patients, a man in his late 60s, who came to me feeling worn down. He confessed that he no longer had the same drive or energy he once had, and intimacy with his wife had become rare. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't neglecting his health, he was simply struggling with the natural decline of testosterone. When I suggested adding pomegranates to his diet, he looked at me skeptically. "Doc, how can a fruit change all that?" he asked. But within a few weeks, he returned with a smile on his face that told me everything I needed to know. You see, pomegranates are not just fruit, they are medicine for a man's body. Clinical studies have shown that drinking pomegranate juice daily can raise testosterone levels by as much as 24%. That's not a minor boost, that's a transformation for someone in their 60s. And it isn't just the testosterone. Pomegranates improve blood flow, which is essential for heart health, muscle strength, and most importantly, erections. Strong circulation means stronger performance, not just in the gym or at work, but in the bedroom too. The secret lies in the antioxidants. Pomegranates are packed with compounds that protect your cells from oxidative stress, the silent aging process that weakens the testosterone-producing Leydig cells in your testes. When these cells are protected, they work harder and longer, giving you the hormonal support you need to feel alive again. That is why so many men notice not only an improvement in energy and mood, but also in their confidence. It's as though the flame inside them burns brighter. I'll never forget when that same patient came back to me after a couple of months. His wife accompanied him this time, and she leaned in and said quietly, "Thank you, doctor." He's more himself again. He laughs more, he smiles more, and he even holds my hand the way he used to. That moment reminded me why I do this work. Because when a man reclaims his testosterone, he doesn't just regain his energy, he regains his presence in the lives of those he loves. Pomegranates may not be as common in your kitchen as apples or oranges, but I can assure you if you are a man over 50, they are worth every bite. Even adding a glass of pomegranate juice a few times a week can begin to shift the balance in your favor. Think of it not as a snack, but as an investment in your masculinity, your heart, and your future. And if you thought pomegranates were powerful, wait until you hear about the next fruit. It's creamy, rich, and unlike most fruits, it's full of the healthy fats your body craves. This one doesn't just support testosterone, it actually gives your body the raw building blocks to produce more of it. 6. Avocados. There is a certain comfort that comes with cutting into a ripe avocado, the soft green flesh almost glowing with richness. I often tell my patients that this fruit is nature's gift to men, especially men over 50. I remember a patient named George, 64 years old, who came into my office feeling defeated. He told me his energy was fading, his body was changing, and intimacy with his wife had become less and less frequent. He had tried supplements, powders, even fancy diets, but nothing seemed to make a difference. When I suggested something as simple as adding avocados to his meals, he looked at me as if I had offered him a child's solution to a grown man's problem. But George trusted me, and he gave it a try. A few months later, he returned with more light in his eyes, a stronger handshake, and a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. The reason avocados are so powerful lies in their composition. Unlike most fruits, they are filled with healthy fats, specifically monounsaturated fats, which are the very building blocks your body needs to create testosterone. Without enough of these fats, your body struggles to produce the hormone that defines your strength, drive, and vitality. For a man in his 60s who is already dealing with a natural decline in testosterone, supplying those raw materials can make a world of difference. But the benefits don't stop there. Avocados are rich in magnesium and potassium, two minerals that directly support testosterone levels by helping regulate blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and improve overall hormone balance. They also help lower bad cholesterol, which protects your heart and keeps blood flowing smoothly through your body. And as every man over 50 knows, good blood flow isn't just about heart health, it's also about performance and confidence in the bedroom. When George started eating half an avocado every morning with his eggs, he noticed subtle changes at first. His energy began to last longer through the day, his workouts felt more productive, and his mood lifted. But the biggest change, he admitted with a proud smile, was in his marriage. He and his wife felt closer again, more connected, because he finally had the drive and stamina that had been missing. That simple fruit had given him back something he thought he had lost forever. I share George's story because it highlights a truth I see every day in my practice. Sometimes the simplest changes bring the biggest transformations. Avocados are not flashy, they're not exotic, but for men over 50, they are one of the most effective foods you can eat to restore testosterone naturally. Each bite is like sending a signal to your body that says, I am still strong, I am still capable, I am still a man. So the next time you're in the grocery store, don't overlook this humble fruit. Slice it, mash it, or blend it into a smoothie, but make it a part of your life. And if avocados surprise you with their power, just wait until we move to the next fruit. It's one you've probably eaten since childhood, often thought of as ordinary, but inside it hides an enzyme that can fire up your testosterone and reignite your energy in ways you never expected. 7. Bananas. There's something so simple and familiar about a banana. Most of us grew up with them on the kitchen counter, slipped into lunchboxes, or grabbed before a long day's work. They're inexpensive, easy to eat, and always within reach. But what many men don't realize is that this everyday fruit carries something extraordinary inside, a natural power to support testosterone and restore vitality when you need it most. I recall a patient named Michael, 61 years old, who came to me complaining that he felt drained no matter how much sleep he got. He was struggling with weight gain and admitted that his confidence in the bedroom was slipping away. He wanted a complicated solution, a pill, maybe even a therapy. But when I told him to start adding bananas into his morning routine, he laughed. "Doc, how can a banana help me feel like a man again?" But he trusted me enough to give it a try. Here's why bananas are more than just a snack. They contain an enzyme called bromelain, which plays a role in boosting your body's natural testosterone production. This enzyme supports the process your body uses to create testosterone, giving it a much-needed push when age has already slowed things down. Beyond bromelain, bananas are packed with B vitamins, especially vitamin B6, which is essential for reducing stress and keeping your nervous system balanced. And stress, as many men learn the hard way, is one of the fastest ways to lower testosterone. By calming your system and feeding it the nutrients it needs, bananas quietly help restore balance and strength. Michael's story still makes me smile. Within weeks of making bananas part of his breakfast, usually alongside some eggs or a smoothie, he reported feeling more energy during the day. His workouts improved, and he began to notice his waistline shrinking. But more than that, he felt sharper, more focused, and less irritable. And when he finally leaned across my desk one afternoon and said, "Doc, I think my wife is happier with me these days too," I knew he had discovered the power of this simple fruit. Bananas also contain natural sugars and fiber that provide steady energy without the crash you get from processed sweets. For men over 50, that means no more mid-afternoon slumps, no more dragging yourself through the day. Instead, you feel fueled and steady, ready to take on what life brings. And when your body feels supported, your testosterone doesn't just hold steady, it begins to climb. I often remind men that health doesn't always come from complicated solutions. Sometimes it's the simplest foods, the ones we overlook, that hold the key to transformation. A banana a day is not just a saying, it can be a real strategy for keeping your hormones strong and your vitality alive. So the next time you reach for a snack, remember what this modest fruit can do for your body and your manhood. And if you think bananas are powerful, just wait until you hear about the next fruit. It may be small in size, but its antioxidant strength is unmatched, and it has the power to protect your testosterone, your memory, and even your erections in a way few foods can. 8. Berries. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries. There's something timeless about a bowl of fresh berries. Their colors are bold, their flavor is sweet yet tart, and they've always carried the feeling of summer and vitality. But what I want you to know is that for men over 50, berries are not just a pleasant treat. They are one of the most powerful allies you have in protecting and restoring testosterone. I remember a patient named Richard, 70 years old, who walked into my office with the kind of weariness I see too often. He told me he was losing his memory, his energy was fading, and intimacy with his wife had become more of a memory than a reality. He had accepted it as part of getting older, but his wife urged him to come see me. When I suggested something as simple as adding berries to his daily meals, he raised his eyebrows. "Doc, you really think fruit can change all that?" I smiled and told him to trust the process. Here's why berries are so remarkable. They are loaded with antioxidants, particularly flavonoids, that protect your testosterone from oxidative stress. As you age, free radicals, those unstable molecules that damage your cells, begin to pile up inside your body. They attack the very cells responsible for producing testosterone, weakening them over time. But the antioxidants in berries act like shields, protecting those cells and keeping them working longer and stronger. That means more natural testosterone production, better balance, and more vitality. But the benefits don't stop there. Berries also improve blood flow. They help relax blood vessels, reduce blood pressure, and support healthy circulation. And as every man over 50 knows, good circulation is the lifeblood of strong erections. When the pathways are clear and the blood is flowing, you feel more alive, not only physically but emotionally too. For Richard, this was life-changing. After just a few months of eating a handful of blueberries or strawberries every morning, his energy returned, his mind felt sharper, and his wife confided to me that their intimacy had blossomed again. She told me, "Doctor, he's laughing more, remembering more, and yes, he's showing me affection in ways I thought were gone forever." Berries are also naturally low in sugar compared to many other fruits, which means they don't cause the harmful spikes in blood sugar that lower testosterone. Instead, they provide steady energy, fuel your muscles, and support your brain. In fact, studies have shown that men who eat berries regularly have better memory and focus. So not only are you protecting your testosterone, but you're also protecting the sharpness of your mind. When I see a man in his 60s or 70s reclaim his energy, his drive, and his intimacy just by making simple changes, it reminds me that true medicine doesn't always come in a pill. Sometimes it comes in a handful of berries added to your breakfast. Every bite is like a reminder to your body that you're still capable, still strong, and still alive. And if berries can do all of this, then imagine what happens when you combine everything we've talked about today. The right fruits that boost testosterone and the careful avoidance of those that destroy it. That, gentlemen, is where the real transformation begins, and it's exactly what I want to leave you with in the conclusion of this message. Conclusion. Gentlemen, we've walked together through 8 fruits that can either weaken or strengthen your very foundation as a man. 4 of them, though often considered healthy, quietly chip away at your testosterone. Seedless grapes with their hidden pesticides and estrogen-like compounds, dried fruits packed with concentrated sugar that spike your insulin and drag your hormones down, canned fruits swimming in syrup and lined with chemicals like BPA that mimic estrogen, and soy-based fruit snacks that disguise themselves as healthy but load your body with phytoestrogens. These are the quiet thieves robbing you of energy, confidence, and intimacy without you even realizing it. But we've also uncovered 4 fruits that act like true allies in your fight against time. Pomegranates with their antioxidants, protecting your testosterone-producing cells and boosting blood flow. Avocados, rich in healthy fats and minerals that your body uses as raw materials to build testosterone and protect your heart. Bananas, simple and familiar, carrying bromelain and B vitamins that help you manage stress while supporting hormone production. And berries, small, colorful, powerful, shielding your testosterone from oxidative damage while keeping your memory sharp and your blood flowing strong. I think of all the men I've treated over the years, men who walked into my office feeling tired, defeated, and uncertain if they could ever feel like themselves again. Many of them believed age had taken everything from them, when in reality it was often their daily choices, the foods they reached for without a second thought. And when they made those changes, when they removed the fruits that destroy testosterone and embraced the ones that restore it, I watched their lives transform. Energy returned. Confidence returned. Intimacy returned. They looked at themselves in the mirror and saw not a man fading, but a man fighting, a man still alive with purpose and strength. I share this with you not just as a doctor, but as a man who understands what's at stake. Testosterone is not just a hormone. It is your drive, your vitality, your presence. It's the spark that lets you play with your grandchildren, hold your wife's hand with warmth, and wake up each day with energy instead of exhaustion. Losing it feels like losing yourself, but regaining it feels like coming home. The choice is in your hands. You don't need expensive supplements or complicated regimens. Sometimes the most powerful medicine is already in your kitchen. Remove the grapes, the dried fruits, the canned fruits, and the soy snacks that chip away at your masculinity. Replace them with pomegranates, avocados, bananas, and berries that feed your strength and protect your future. So as you finish this message, I ask you to take one simple action. Open your refrigerator, look at your fruit bowl, and decide which version of yourself you want to feed. Will it be the man who slowly declines, or the man who takes back his energy, his passion, and his life? I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it. The smallest changes can bring back the biggest parts of who you are. And if this resonated with you, let it be the beginning of your journey, because protecting your testosterone after 50 is not about holding on to the past. It's about building a stronger, more vibrant future. One choice, one bite, one day at a time. If this video has given you value and opened your eyes to the truth about your health, I'd love your support. Please take a moment to like this video so more men over 50 can discover it, and share it with a friend or loved one who needs this information. Leave me a comment below. I truly enjoy reading your stories and questions. And if you'd like to help support this channel directly, consider donating through YouTube Super Chat during our live sessions. Your support helps me keep creating honest, life-changing advice designed just for you.